We're continuing our series on Veeam ONE, and today we're going to talk about Veeam ONE reports. This is probably one of the tool's most powerful features, but it's often underestimated. So why is it so important? Because Veeam ONE reports will structure and analyze all the data collected from your hypervisors and your backup environment. As a result, you get a clear and structured view of what's happening in your infrastructure on every level, both on the virtualization side, vSphere, Hyper-V, and on the backup side with Veeam Backup and Replication and Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. In Veeam ONE, there's already a large library of reports that are pre-configured and ready to use. There are more than 160 of them, but you can also create your own custom reports, choose the scope, the time period, and even automate their delivery by email or to a network share. In short, it's the ideal tool for auditing, compliance, and day-to-day management. In the very latest version, version 13 of Veeam ONE, there's a very interesting new feature, the arrival of a new reporting engine that's much faster and much more efficient. Report generation times have gone from tens of minutes to just a few seconds. There are also new dynamic features that are really convenient to use, like sorting, grouping, filtering, and customizable layouts. In short, lots of interesting things. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the interface so we can see together where to find these reports, how to use them, and most importantly, see what this new engine actually changes in the management of your backups. All right, let's get started. When you log into the interface, the HTML5 interface, you get an HTML5 interface for the Veeam ONE reporting module. Here we have the reports catalog section, which lets you view all the reports, the catalog, the report library, which is presented like this. I really like the presentation. I think it really highlights the reports. We have these little thumbnails like this. They allow you to visually identify the different reports and the type of data you can retrieve from each of them. And there are some interesting features in the interface that let you filter and sort the reports according to your interests, or at least based on the types of information you want to see. There's a filter here. You can filter by name. You can filter by tag. You can see here that by clicking on tag, you get a list of pre-configured tags. If, for example, I click on tracking, I only get the reports that allow you to track a certain number of things, track changes, track restorations. In short, all the reports that let you monitor changes and modifications made to the virtualization infrastructure and also the backup infrastructure. What else do we have? Here on the right, you can sort the reports. I'm going to disable this. You can sort the reports by popularity. This allows you to filter for the most interesting reports, the most popular ones. In any case, those that are used the most and contain the most relevant information. You can also change the display, showing the reports from the library in a list format like this. Here you have the full list of 160 reports. Here, if I click on all, we have all these pre-configured reports in the library. There are a little over 160 of them. Personally, I like the thumbnail view. I find it visually nicer, much more user-friendly. It feels like a kind of marketplace and you can see things with color, which is very useful in practice. In any case, I think the experience is improved. The navigation experience in the interface is considerably better compared to the previous version. So that's part of it. Among the new features in version 13 of Veeam ONE are changes to the interface, to the user interface, graphical changes made possible by the use of HTML5, which greatly improve the ergonomics and user experience. So if we go a bit more into the details of the reports, what do we have? Here you can see all the reports in the library. To get a graphical idea of each report, we can, for example, focus on the most popular, most used, and most interesting reports. You can click on the small thumbnails to enlarge and view them, the type of information, and already get an idea of the graphical presentation of the report. So here we see that we're looking at the protected VM report, which allows you to identify all the workloads protected according to the SLA and the defined RPO. So there is some configuration to do, some pre-setup, define the scope, define the RPO, the period, and all of that. Then it allows you to display the report in a coherent way. We'll see that. We'll see that in a moment. I'll show you how to configure a report and how to save them. So that's the principle. What other interesting reports do we have? There's the job one, configuration tracking. The job configuration tracking allows you to identify and track all the changes made to the job. As soon as a change is made by a user or an administrator, whether it's at the job level or within Veeam, backup and replication, at the options level, this report will allow you to list all of these changes, know who did what at what time, and see the original value and the final value. This really allows you to track and manage changes, tracking clearly on the backup environment. These are things that can help troubleshoot a problem. We can correlate a problem at the backup level, a sudden problem with backups, and link it to changes or modifications that were made, for example, the day before by a backup administrator. What else do we have that's interesting? The VM daily protection status, which gives the daily protection status of VMs. So day by day, the failure rate, the success rate. So that's very interesting. Visually, in a graphical way, you can see it like this, how the backup status evolves depending on the days, the week, and the month. Here we have backup infrastructure custom data, which is interesting in the sense that, as we'll see in a moment, it allows you to create custom reports with information and data from the backup infrastructure in a personalized way. For example, having inventories of infrastructure components, the inventory of proxies, of repositories, of the workloads that have been backed up. This way, you can build a somewhat customized report to extract useful information for your environment. What else do we have? The backup alarm overview. Here is the list of alarms triggered by the infrastructure components. Here you can monitor things. We have the restore operator activity, which is very interesting. This one also allows you to track all the restores that are performed in the environment. This way, you can get an idea of the most common type of restore, find out which users restore the most, identify the users or administrators who performed a particular type of restore, and know exactly when and at what time with great precision. So this is very useful for audits, for example, to provide evidence when you want to identify something. When conducting investigations, it can be helpful to generate this report. In any case, it's a very interesting report in that regard. Restore operator activity, so a report on the restore activity of operators. Backup inventory, I think the title is pretty self-explanatory. It's the backup inventory. So here you really have a complete extract, an inventory of the entire backup infrastructure. The backup servers, proxies, repositories, the characteristics of each of these elements. You really have a full inventory of the backup infrastructure, of the backup. And that's something that can be very interesting. Okay. We have other reports. We're not going to go through all of them, unfortunately. So the video and the demo don't get too long. But in general, the report titles here are pretty self-explanatory and usually tell you what the reports do. When there's any doubt or misunderstanding, you can click here and you'll find the explanation, the definition of the report. Or you can either click the plus sign on the tile or simply click directly on the widget. Here you'll also find the definition of the report, its purpose, what it's used for, and the type of information you can extract or obtain from this report. So I suggest we take a few reports, configure them, preview them, and export them in different formats. Let's take this one, the VM daily protection status. I'll click on it. Remove the camera so it's visible for you. So the VM daily protection status, here we are. This is the report configuration page. We define the scope. So the scope is Veeam backup. That's my backup server, Veeam backup. I only have one, so it's selected. Very good. You see the scope, you can define it using other types of containers. For example, a folder. Or custom views that you have created using Business View, which is a tool, a solution, a feature of Veeam ONE. Here you define the period, the interval, whether it's the current week, last week, or the last 7 days. We're going to set it to the last 7 days. You can see that you have other ways to define the period here. And here you define the type of job you want to appear in the report. So I'm just going to display the backup jobs for this environment. So we can click here on preview to preview the report according to this configuration. I click on preview. Here we see a preview of our report. What do we have? Today's date, the report definition, and the report settings. So here we find our scope, the interval, which is the last 7 days, the job type, backup, and here this is an option we left as no, analyze VM. Template, no need to analyze this template section. And so we see the daily protection status for the last 7 days of backups, right? So this is an environment where we have 35 VMS. The last backup was yesterday, 23 here, and 12 in warning status. So this is a preview. In the reports, you always have a summary. You have a summary page that synthesizes the information, the report, and you have a detailed page, which is the report data section. There, you really want to have the complete exhaustive data in both the summary and report tabs. In terms of navigation, you can save the report, you can schedule it. So scheduling is automation. It's what will automatically send the report at a certain frequency on a specific day to certain recipients, multiple recipients automatically, or generate the report and store it on a network share, for example, so that people can retrieve it or access it. Edit parameters allows me to edit and reconfigure the report to change the scope, the period, or the type of job. And here you can retrieve, you see this graphical representation in the summary view, you can retrieve it. Graphically, the image, you can download it in PNG, SVG, JPEG, or CSV format. So this can be useful if you want to quickly integrate graphical elements into your own documentation. Documentation, a report in an email to communicate about the status of backups. So you can very easily retrieve this image, and I think that's really interesting. This is one of the new features in version 13 and one of the possibilities offered by the new HTML5 interface. In the report data section, I'll go back here to report data. You have quite a few interesting things in the way information is presented. You can see here that the data is represented and grouped in a certain way. You can change the way all of this is displayed. I'm going to change things. Backup server. I don't need to group by backup server since I only have one. So I'm going to leave it unchecked. On the other hand, I'd like to group this by result. So first, the result, success, failure, warning. Next, what interests me, I would say, is the job. And then the name of the VM. I click apply. And now you can clearly see that the grouping has changed. I now have a grouping by result, fail, success, warning. If I click on fail, I have the job as requested, and inside the job, I find all the virtual machines. So I know that all these machines, ProApp, Zeus, for example, there, fail, I have the date, other information. You can see here that the information is concatenated because the columns would need to be enlarged and resized. So I discovered that there was a very useful, very interesting tool hidden here behind the three dots. Click on the three dots, auto size, and there it's self-sized, it's great. Personally, I love these kinds of little features. It's little details like this that make a difference and make things easier in the interface. And I find that really, very interesting. The devil is in the details, as they say. What else do we have? What else do we have? Here you can also delete columns. Here are all the columns then. Backup group, server, name, job, location, result date are displayed. Okay, so all of this particular section allows you to configure various settings and parameters. And finally, here, you can also create additional filters, add more specific filters, filter by a particular job name with a certain predefined value, and add further conditions. So it's a multi-criteria filter that really allows you to add filters in a more detailed, sophisticated way to refine and display only the information that might be relevant. So I find this multi-criteria filter really interesting, and it really allows you to fine-tune things in terms of results. In any case, the display of results can be filtered quite precisely. Okay, we're here now. What exactly did we change on this particular report? We primarily changed the overall scope, and we also made significant adjustments to the grouping section right here. Well, I am now going to carefully save this report. I'll name it VM Daily Status, and I'm going to do it specifically for this demonstration. We will leave it precisely there and then proceed to save it in this manner. So now if I go back to save report, I find my report here. I click on it and I find my report with the configuration here. You can see the grouping just as I set it up earlier. This avoids every time you have a report and you want to extract or export it, this saves you from having to reconfigure it each time. Here, you define the scopes, you set the parameters, and you save. And you find that in the section, Save Report here. So I think that's really clever. In terms of usability, I find it very useful. You have the library, and here you have your own custom reports with your filters, your groupings, your scopes, your specific settings already applied. So we're looking at the custom report that we saved. report here, what can we do? We can easily find all the relevant settings. We can then proceed to edit the various parameters. We can also change them again if needed. Furthermore, we can edit the essential information, such as changing the name of the report, for example. We can clone the report, we can move it, we can share it. Sharing, as you can see, here you can get a direct link to the report, which truly allows you to easily view it. So let's now do a quick test. Copy the provided link. Okay, then close. Let's carefully close this window here. And so there you go. We get the report in read-only mode only. Yes, you absolutely can't do anything else with this particular view. It's truly a user-specific view, so you can readily share this unique link or indeed send it conveniently by email. And that allows people to access the report or provide the report directly in the graphical interface. I find that very interesting. And here the person has the option. Okay. Oh, yes. Sorry. The option to download the report in PDF format. So that's very, very useful for sharing information, making it available, for example, to management, the IT director, a manager, or business teams. This type of the comprehensive report so that they can easily access the various key performance indicators related to their backup operations. So if I come back here, what can we do? We can download the report in CSV or PDF format. We can schedule it. Let's look at the scheduling part. What do we have? Here we can set a frequency every 24 hours, or for example, every day, every Monday, for example, at 9 a.m. We want to generate this report, then we can send it by email. We can save it in a specific folder, run a script. We can choose PDF or CSV format. We'll leave it as PDF. We can uncheck this. We can just send it by email. The PDF document to, for example, the IT director, the infrastructure manager, or business users, for instance. Here, recipient subject, you define them. You can change the subject line of the email. And here, the list of recipients. And you confirm by clicking finish. And that way, you have an automatic schedule set up. The report will be exported in PDF format and sent directly to the people concerned who are interested in the type of information contained in the report. Another way to retrieve it, so all of this, we're going to do it. But it's to export the report in CSV or PDF format. We'll do both. If we export in PDF format, you can choose the file name, the format, A4, A5, or 3-letter formats. You really have a choice in terms of format, and that's also very useful. It can be very, very interesting. Portrait or landscape. And you click on export here, access the report, and we see our report generated in PDF format. So the first page summarizes with the report name and the settings, and then we meticulously locate the comprehensive graphical representation, which includes the detailed graphical report, along with all the other relevant and informative pages that are part of this extensive collection, which are the detailed data pages. You have a 10-page report that lists all of this in PDF format. We're going to do the same thing this time. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to export in CSV format to see. So CSV. Okay, so CSV format. What do we have? I'm going to launch the little CSV viewer. And we can see here all the data in CSV format: backup, server, VM, the jobs, ownership, date, result. So here we really have a complete extract day by day. So we can filter, sort by date, sort by result. So this is very useful for retrieving raw data and representing it however you want, using it however you want, or integrating it into other tools for analysis or to generate statistics or that kind of thing. And here we really have a raw CSV format, simple and 100% usable in different analysis tools or internal scripts or that kind of thing. We've covered everything about the reports. We've just seen how to generate the reports. We've worked on the VM daily protection status. The principle is exactly the same for the other reports. If we take this one, leave it as is, and click on preview, we can see here, we're going to see a certain amount of information. Here you have several widgets that appear. Job, issue, history. This is the backup alarm overview report. It's all the alarms triggered around the backup. You have the report data tab with all the triggered alarms. You can change it and set it to the last month, for example, or the type of alarm, maybe only backup server. And manual selection, choose the type of alarm you want to include. So several filters like this that allow you to filter the information. And same principle, once all of this suits you, you can set up automatic sending, download as CSV or PDF format, your report. That's it for this overview of reports in Veeam ONE. Veeam ONE is a true analysis and management tool that will help you understand your environment, anticipate problems, and prove compliance, and all that without spending hours compiling everything by hand. So if you're not using reports in Veeam ONE yet, now is definitely the time to start. I think your audits and reporting will thank you. As always, if the video helped you, remember to like and comment. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel, because that's my only reward. See you soon. All right, bye.